am. I might have lost my voice from last night. I'm kidding, it's the allergies. They're raging havoc on my vocal cords. But anyways, good morning, everyone. Yeah, exciting. Okay. All right, so today I'm gonna share a bit about this whole concept of the cheat code, a bit about my entrepreneurial story, and I'm gonna introduce to you this concept of the achievement moment, and the achievement moment being one that we can use every day in how we understand how to interact with our consumers. So let's get started here. Oh, by the way, funny story. This cover is the US cover. Hold on a second. Why is this not working? I guess I'll use manual. This is the US cover. They decided not to put my face on it. The picture you saw on the front screen is the European cover, so you can recognize the book in bookstores. So the Europeans thought that my face would help sell books. In the US, they thought my face would hurt book sales. So thank you to the European community. All right, so big background on myself. So you're probably wondering why there's a 12-year-old Asian guy on stage talking about entrepreneurship. Happy to explain. I'm not 12 anymore, I'm 26. This is my background. There's two main elements to it. At the top is gaming, bottom is design. Actually, first of all, I'm Canadian. Hi, I'm Canadian. Yay, go Canada, thank you. You have permission to like me. Anyway, so I was born and raised in Canada. I now live in New York. When I was in Canada growing up, I actually skipped a few grades and graduated university early. So I skipped 4 grades and I went into university when I was 14 and I graduated when I was 18. They let you do that in Canada, don't worry. This is, again, my background. I wanted to give you the upbringings in my childhood. So video game, Counter-Strike. I played a lot of Counter-Strike when I was growing up. Any of you guys remember Counter-Strike? Yeah? Counter-Strike? No one cares? All right, Counter-Strike. And I also, at the age of 12, because of gaming, because when you play in these online games, you can be on teams, and each team had their own their own insignia, their own sort of sign. And I wanted to design a better one for our clan, and so I at the age of 12, I pirated a copy of Photoshop, because who buys it when they're 12, and started to learn how to design on my own. And so that's what got me into design. So design and gaming. Don't worry, it all makes sense. So how I got into entrepreneurship. So I'm Canadian, so obviously that's why I mentioned I was Canadian, not just because I wanted to sound cool, but it's because I play ice hockey. I know it's very hard to believe, but I still play ice hockey. I used to be much more muscular than this. And I was the guy avoiding all the hits, not giving them. Unfortunately, there was one hit when I was 16 that I wasn't able to avoid, and I broke my knee. And I was in a wheelchair for a couple months. And when you can't move, you have a couple choices, right? First is you could play a lot of video games, which I was already doing, or you could start a company. And so I decided to start a company. So that was the impetus to me starting a business, was breaking my leg. So when they say, go break a leg, I broke my leg, and then I started a company. So I mentioned that I graduated when I was 18. This is in 2009. The economy wasn't that great. I ended up wanting to go to a part of the world where, there was a lot of nerds. And so I decided to go to San Francisco, of course. And I got a job at this company. You might have remembered it, called Digg, digg.com. And then unfortunately, Digg started to do this. Reddit started to do this. And then I lost my job. So I got laid off at the ripe old age of 19. And that was the second moment that led to my second company, which is Kiip, which was just mentioned. So this was the story of how I started Kiip. I was on a plane. I was walking up and down the aisle. I don't know if you guys do market research on planes, but I do a lot of it. I love watching people doing stuff. And I noticed that everyone was playing a lot of games. And then I also noticed that not only were they playing games, but they were seeing these things. They were seeing a lot of not so great ads in their games. And as an entrepreneur, you like to solve problems, right? And so the problem that I noticed was I've never seen a normal human being looking at your phone and going, oh my God, look at that banner ad. I'm so excited to tap on it and see what it does. No one ever, right? No one ever wants to tap on these things on purpose. So we decided to come up with a solution, my co-founders and I. And the solution was, instead of just an ad, why not change it entirely to a new concept and change it to a reward? And so let me show you this video.
So Kiip is a platform that rewards consumers in moments that matter to them. And we've allowed brands to be a part of these moments, to celebrate these moments with something that feels rewarding and feels delightful. A moment is, in our definition, an action with context. Moments matter because they indicate behavior that consumers are exhibiting throughout their daily lives. And these moments are actually real time. They're from things that people are actively doing and paying attention to. When we try to target a consumer, we would always look at the content that they are interested in as a proxy to who they were. This is, in essence, what makes Kiip so special, is how do we be there literally when something has just occurred. A moment could be, for example, being in a fitness app and logging a run and getting rewarded for it, to being in a game and leveling up and getting delighted with a virtual currency boost. There's so many opportunities for brands to take the things that we do every day that have a lot of contextual data and actually delight the consumer and create something that the consumer actually wants.
So, just wanted to show you a shorter version of the video so you understand what we had created, which is this new model around rewarding people based on the things that they were doing, the moments that they were engaging in on a daily basis. So our insight was, instead of a piece of real estate on your screen, like the sidebar or the top bar, we would find a moment in time where you were doing something meaningful. And in that moment, why not actually acknowledge the consumer, thank the consumer, congratulate the consumer. So you can see here we started off with games. Games was the original part of our idea, which is coming from my gaming background, so it all makes sense. And then we moved into other areas. We started to reward people for fitness activities and for music, for productivity, you name it, and even selfie apps. Selfie apps are a huge category right now. Lots of people taking selfies and then making themselves look like Kim Kardashian. Anyway, so this is a bit of how we've made progress. The company's 6 years old. We're not a startup anymore. You can see some of the moments in the background. It's not a disease spreading. It's just all the active moments that you can see. In this very moment, in this room, in this very moment, there are thousands of moments happening. It's really exciting. Think about a fitness app. You finish a run. Of course, you're thirsty. Of course, Fiji could be there to reward you. Makes a lot of sense. Let's say you're in a game. You finish a level. Kit Kat is there to reward you. Let's say you're in a to-do list app. You cross off your to-dos. You're done doing your stuff. Again, the New York Times is there to reward you because you have time to read the paper. Makes sense. So I wanted to share with you guys, because of the theme of the cheat code, some cheat codes over 4 categories. Just very quick amount of cheat codes for these categories. I figured these cheat codes would be exclusive from the book. So these are ones that I've never shared. So you guys want to hear some cheat codes? Yeah? Yeah, all right, let's do this. All right. Innovation. So we heard about innovation earlier and change and all this stuff, and I'm actually going to help you think about it a bit better and rack your head around it, which is this. Sounds a little counterintuitive, but it's true. In order to understand change, to actually focus on things that won't actually ever change. So Jeff Bezos is really famous for saying that, a guy who started Amazon, famous for saying, there are 2 things that will never change about the consumer. One is they'll never want things to arrive slower or things to be more expensive. So we'll always want things to arrive faster and cheaper. Makes perfect sense. And that will never change. And so Amazon's whole philosophy is built around those 2 core tenets that will never change. Think about new technologies, so to speak, like a Snapchat, and be like, is this really that novel or new? Let me explain. When I speak to you in person, is there a transcript? No. When I chat with you on Snapchat, is there a transcript? No. It mimics real life. You remember content. Remember the Flipboard generation, right? Everyone was building their own magazine. They wanted all the most customized content. And then now it's give it to me. Give me news that I'll read. And then actually, more accurately now, it's, okay, all of this is gonna be fake news. I need to design my magazine again, and now Flipboard's coming back. So you have all of this really interesting cyclical components to change and innovation, where you have to ask the question sometimes, is it actually new? The next is take moonshots. And I try to use Uber as an example without offending anyone, but it's really hard. But anyways, the point is, there is a lot of cool stuff that you hear about, like a self-driving Uber, that it seemed like it was just a distant dream, but now it's almost completely real. There are places where Uber had been testing, you could jump into a self-driving Uber and actually be taken to where you want to go. And that's the type of moonshot that gets you excited about the future. And these are the types of things that you hear from an Elon Musk all the time. Just a few weeks ago, he talked about his big project to bore a bunch of tunnels beneath Los Angeles so that you could skip traffic. And it's like, these are the types of big moonshot type ideas that get people really excited. Another cheat code around innovation is actually to help people feel smart. Not actually be smart, but feel smart. There's a few companies in the world that do this extremely well. One of them is Apple, of course. That's an easy example. But what I mean by this is people don't necessarily need to know all the nitty-gritty details about how everything works, right? Apple just makes it seem like it's just amazing and magical, and there is some technical parts of it. So especially with the new watch, when Johnny Ive was introducing it, if you guys remember, and I watch all the videos they push out, he spent like a good 2 minutes explaining to you the metals that the watch was made out of. And it's like, why do I need to know about the metals? It doesn't matter to how the watch actually functions. But the fact that he talked about it made me feel so smart. And I was like, when I buy this thing, I'm like the smartest guy ever. A lot of it's just in the way you position and communicate, make people feel smart. This is related to moonshots, but not really. What I mean by this is vision. Many of us are entrepreneurs. The bigger your vision, the more people will follow. It's that simple. Even if your vision seems crazy, but if it even remotely has a possibility of becoming true, people will follow you. And that's the reason why a lot of these founders have been able to build the type of following and participation with their ideas. Good. The next category is on people. People, meaning everyone in organizations and just interacting with others, it's critical. People are critical to entrepreneurship and the internet and how we grow our businesses. How do we build the best teams? The answer is to find complementary superpowers. So I'll quickly explain this. What is a superpower? What is your superpower? In fact, you should know this. Superpowers, and one of my favorite questions to ask in interviews is when you ask what is your superpower, people have to figure out, oh, what is it that I'm really good at, right? And so from the simple concept is there comes a point in your adulthood where you stop trying to fix all your weaknesses, right? And you put all your energy into your strengths. For me, I knew there was a point where even if I spent all my time studying it, I wasn't gonna be amazing at calculus. I just knew that. But my superpower is that I'm really good at getting people super excited about shit, right? That's what I do all the time. That is my superpower. If I have too many people in my company that have that superpower, it'll never work, right? You need to have complementary superpowers. I find co-founding teams and units that have too many overlapping superpowers are very ineffective. Always try to have as many complementary superpowers as possible. We're also in what I call the most knowledge-enabled generation, right? We have access to knowledge that other generations would never have had, or at the speed that we have now. Absolutely amazing. This also means that people have no excuse anymore to say they don't know, right? And don't even refuse to learn. So, or they're just refusing to learn. So how many of you have heard the whole like, oh, I need a technical co-founder, I need to bribe someone with beer to build my app. They all sound like that. And the thing is, you can actually learn how to code, right? You don't have to rely on someone who knows how to code. Just learn it. Instead of, playing Pokemon go learn how to code that weekend, right? You have no excuse anymore. The next is new permissions and norms. How many of you know what this is? WeChat. Yeah, if you have any Asian friends, I can be your Asian friend, don't worry. WeChat is awesome. But I show this because WeChat is basically the first app that any Chinese person will use when they buy a phone or a tablet. And think of the youth and the first device that they're gonna own and the first thing. They're not even gonna use the phone app or the text messaging app. They may not even know what the phone icon even means. Most people don't even know what it means anymore. It's the new norm. So what we think is new and novel and innovative is actually the norm for a lot of the people now. So I always take that example back to advertising. We're like showing like video ads and banner ads to youth today who never even knew what an ad looked like on a desktop screen. We knew what it looked like, but why are we educating people about what old ads look like? Why don't we take the opportunity to do something new? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And this is our duty as a group, is to create new models that to us seem new, but can become the norm for the new generation. The next is on your industry or in our industry. This was actually covered quite a bit extensively before, which was hyper adoption. Things get adopted way faster than you would ever expect. And in fact, you can't underestimate it. I mean, well, this is still goofy looking, but it's not that abnormal to see someone walking around with these goofy things now, right? And it's kind of a normal thing. Like VR is part of our lives in many ways. The more of these headsets that Samsung gives out and stuff like that, it's going to become even more prevalent. And that also means we have to define the consumer differently. We call this the connected consumer profile. So in the past, the way we used to profile our consumers was, okay, the things they consumed, as in the websites they visited or the TV shows or the magazines they consume. Now it's about our behaviors, right? Telematics and connected cars and your connected home and your experiences overall. These are all part of who you are now. It isn't just what you banged into your URL bar. It's more than that. And I think that's the key. We also have done some homework. We did the homework for you. You can take a picture of this, whatever. I'll post it later. These are all the moments that we believe are now the new definer of the consumer. What are the behaviors that actually mean something? And we've categorized them. We made them look pretty. We made it look like a periodic table because I like chemistry. Just kidding, I don't. Next is marketing as a service. Now, I believe that a lot of us have marketing in our job descriptions or things that we'd like to do better of. And I believe that our jobs are not just to tell people about our product anymore, it's to actually service them. So we're quickly becoming a service organization. So Marriott, for example, has an app where you can text the concierge. That seems like a service, but it's actually marketing because you're interacting with the brand more. You're creating more opportunities for them to transact. There's a lot of marketing and service involved in that. And here's a prime example of marketing as a service is these chat bots, right? They seem like services, but you're actually marketing to them. And then, of course, the Amazon Echo, which, by the way, is one of the fastest selling Bluetooth speakers, but it's not a Bluetooth speaker. It's Jeff Bezos in the corner of your room taking your money, right? And it's more service, though. It's service, and I'm not saying to build a speaker every time you want to do something. It just means you have to create a model where you're interacting with your consumer, not just by communicating words and information, but actually helping their lives become better. And I think that's the key. Our jobs are to improve our consumers' lives through our products. And if we're able to do that, you're now doing a service. On yourself, I always like to end with people and your own, reflecting on yourself. This cheat code is around gratitude. It's not really a cheat code. It's just something that we should all be aware of, right? So I like to share with people, my parents are from Hong Kong, which is why I look like this. And they immigrated to Canada. My mom became a nurse. My dad became an accountant. A few years ago, I asked them, why did you become a nurse? Why did you become an accountant? And the answer was simple: stability. They wanted my brother and I to grow up in an environment that was different to the environment that they grew up in, which was economic instability. They wanted stability so that all we had to worry about was to get good grades and to not get yelled at. And I'm sure many of you have family backgrounds similar to this, where your parents fought very, very hard for you to have an environment where you didn't have to worry about much other than studying and doing well and then doing cool stuff. I say this because I don't think my parents or your parents or their parents' parents or whatever did these things so that we could go off and do boring things with our life. They did this so we could go off and do crazy shit with our lives, right? And I think we owe it to them to go and make amazing change and try to do things that actually stretch ourselves. And that's the reason why I'm grateful for the opportunity, the fact that we're even sitting here and talking about internet stuff and we're so blessed to be able to do that, And in this day and age, Think of everything that had to happen to lead us to here. And so I think we have that duty to do something great. Youthful mindset. Now, all of you guys are like, screw this guy, he looks like he's 12, obviously he can say this. I mean, it's all about the mind, not about your physical age. Because for example, think about a guy like Richard Branson, right? He's like 95 years old, right? But he's very young, right? When you think about his mindset, he's very young. He's not actually 95. I think he's like 70, whatever. It's all about the mindset, and you can leverage that. And the youthful mindset comes from two components. Always be curious, and always be pushing the status quo, right? And that's how you stay young. As long as you have those things, you're fine. The next cheat code on yourself is this. Ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? One of my favorites. It's a risk assessment framework. Seriously, try this. Every time you have something you're curious about, just ask it. What is the worst that could happen if I did this, right? Literally, if I failed and failed and failed and failed, what would be the worst case scenario? Turns out, it isn't that bad. And so you will feel so empowered to go do this because once you finished it, like for example, this was me skydiving. What's the worst that could happen? That I die. But I didn't die because I'm here, right? So I'm fine. So what is the worst that could happen? Ask yourself, you'll be fine. Next cheat code, I think one more here, is you are the most powerful force in your life. No one cares about you as much as you do. No one cares about your shitty little startup as much as you do. You need to be the one who opens those doors, right? You can't rely on people to come to you and say, hey, here, come to this VC event and raise money from them and get this term sheet immediately. It doesn't work that way. You need to fight for it. Nothing comes easy. My favorite tools of the trade for this are cold emailing and cold LinkedIn adding. Best things ever. Trust me, this is like the best tip or cheat code. Literally anything you want in life can be answered by cold emailing, right? Guessing people's email addresses. Okay, first.lastname@company.com. If it's not that, by the way, you put in the BCC field every other combination you can think of. And then when you send it to them, they have no idea how desperate you were to reach them. And you just see the 1, 2, right? And then you know which bounce back. It is. Take it, don't leave it, don't use it, who cares? This is literally the answer to all your life's questions. Last cheat code is to generate serendipity, right? This is creating luck. And the best way to do this is to find environments that are conducive to your strengths. So when I was in Vancouver and in Canada, if I wanted to be like a park ranger or sell forest products, then I should stay in Canada. But I'm kidding. But if I really wanted to find an environment, you don't want to judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree. So I needed to find my ocean. And I found my ocean in Silicon Valley and other places, and there are mini oceans everywhere. And environments like this where you find like-minded individuals around you, you will be able to create these collisions and create luck for yourself. And that is what is happening here. And you should leverage that. Make sure you make as many of these collisions as possible and you generate as much serendipity so you can go and do some crazy shit. Thank you very much.
Brian Wong. Let's sit down. See if it works this time. Any question to Brian? This is your chance. He has to catch a flight quite soon. So don't think you can wait till the corner, like yesterday.
Here, you want to set this up?
Any questions?
Start thinking about it.
Yeah.
There must be a
Like,
question.
Brian, where'd you get your cool ass polo?
Maybe we can use your book as an award. Is that an idea?
Oh yeah. If you guys,
we will.
yeah, best
the
question
best question will
gets
get the book for free.
Yeah.
So start. So you see that works
yeah.
immediately. There.
I'll sign it and I'll kiss it. All right.
Hi, thank you for the great presentation. I just wanted to ask how your day look like. Do you have like any routine or like morning routine we've been talking about? Or
Yeah, it's a great question. My days vary a lot, but I try to keep a somewhat regular routine of exercise in the morning, like really early, eating something small, all the basic stuff. And then something to be helpful for you is I like to theme my days. So, on like a Monday, it's all internal communications. Tuesday is like about product. Wednesday is about our partners and business development, and Thursday is about our advertisers. So that's a way that I took as a tip that I think will be helpful for a lot of you, of your founders. It allows you to focus on one thing for that day. The other thing that's really important is make sure you keep some empty gaps. A lot of people, we pack our days way too much. We don't leave enough mind space for shit to settle, for us to like absorb. And I think sometimes when you're too like la 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 all the time, you don't actually get to process anything, and it becomes even worse for you. Things just start to slip, and then that's how you create burnout. And I think having those gaps are really, really important.
Anyone who wants to compete for the book?
They're all going to tweet. Oh, back there.
Hi, I have a question. How do you have the idea for the development of your app?
So I got the idea. I mean, how did I get the idea, or how did I build it?
The idea for the future of the development.
So how you generate new ideas?
Like general ideas of new future. Okay. I like to travel a lot to find cool sort of, I'd say it, and then I like museums. One of the cheat codes, by the way, is go to museums. I know this is like really weird. Like most people would be like, oh, go get high at marijuana and then get an idea. My whole thing is you don't have to get high. Go to a museum because everyone who painted shit in that museum already got high for you. But I like that because at least you get to see new ideas, new concepts. Greatness is concentrated into one. And I truly believe that creativity is sort of a combination of everything you've seen. So the more you see and more you travel to, the more you're forced to learn new cultures. This is honestly why I decided to come to Poland. This is my first time in Poland. I love Poland. I've already learned a whole bunch of new things about life in general and people and all that cool stuff. Like who Fish is as a rapper, like or a singer, like it's great. I was like, who's this Fish guy? Anyways, you learn a lot of new things. Point is, that's where you should get your source of inspiration. Last quick thing on that is, when you have too many ideas, it's fine. A lot of questions come from entrepreneurs where they're like, well, which one should I choose to build? I honestly think any one of them is fine as long as you put 100% of yourself into it. I'm not a fan of serial entrepreneurship, and please don't punch me for this, mainly because sometimes you spread yourself too thin. When you go 180% into one thing, you will never have regrets. I'll tell you why. Because at least you go, if this does fail, you go, oh, at least I put all my energy into this, right? And if it doesn't fail, then obviously you know what it looks like when you put 180% of yourself into something. So it's really important to always put yourself fully into one thing.
What I would like to add regarding your traveling and where you get your inspiration from, because that's what we also discussed when you were traveling in London in the car on the phone, it has to do with curiosity, I think. Being open to what you can see, because you can see a lot when you are traveling, but if you judge it immediately,
oh yeah,
it's not working.
Yeah, let people influence your opinions, right? Let them explain where they come from, why they grew up the way they grew up, how they see the world. That's where you get ideas. You know, I have to give the example. I mean, WeChat, I didn't get time to share, but you know, the chat bots that Facebook has, that shit was done like 5 years ago by WeChat in China. This is actually the first time I saw in a major way an American company copying a Chinese company, right? So that's starting to happen more and more. And it's because in China, there's this very nice dynamic of Guangxi and sort of communication and sort of the human touch when it comes to business. And so the chatting part was already a big part of how they knew that was going to be a part of commerce. And that's where these ideas come from. So you can see little ideas and pockets of ideas all over the place. It's really, really interesting.
Last question.
Okay.
Which of the two ladies had the best question? The first one or the second one?
We have one more with a question. Oh,
the last one. Okay, the last question.
Her.
Because we are running out of time. Now finally they start asking questions. We have
let me guess. Are you an architect?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like telepathic. I know her.
How you can find the balance between all the four components? Because mostly people are overwhelmed when thinking about innovation. We are overwhelmed in one thing. How can join all four together?
Yeah, the question is around balance. And I think I mentioned this briefly about my calendar and my day. I think this is not a topic that's talked about enough at events like this, and that is give yourself space. And don't overwhelm yourself intentionally. I think it's okay to not read every article on TechCrunch. It's okay to not know every single thing that's going on. It's totally fine. You're still going to be successful. In fact, what I find is the successful people don't read the news as much, right? And so you should not be. In fact, that's like a data point right there. Most successful people they're not reading the paper every freaking hour of every day. They feed themselves with some relevant worldly news in the beginning of the day, so they know what the hell's going on. And honestly, I read those newspapers mainly in the morning just so that when someone's talking about it later in the day, I don't feel like an idiot, right? That's really the main reason. But I think just by going to these events, you should selectively go deep. I think we do a lot of mile wide, inch deep. We should do a mile deep, inch wide, I think, at least so you can become very, very aware or learning of one specific thing, because that's where you add value as a person. Knowing a lot about a little knowing a little about a lot is not good enough, I think, right now.
And we had another question there next to you, I think.
Oh.
It's the last one.
Okay.
How much time did it take Kiip to dive in that advertisement area? How much time did it take to become so successful?
Well, I mean, we're like 6 years in, and we're at a point now where we're pretty happy with our progress. I'd say as a company, it took us almost 4 years to break into the advertising world, to become like an actual thing that people care about and know about and actually buy. Advertising as an industry is a very rigid industry. Things go the way it does because there's a lot of dynamics that I'll talk to you later about. It's not an easy industry to break into. You have to be patient. And these are the things you have to read. That's why I said, like, you are the most powerful force in your life. No one gave a shit about moments when we started the company. And now a lot of companies care about moments. Just Google micro moments, and you'll know that Google is talking about micro moments. They kind of copied it from us. But anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm not the $700 billion company. But anyway, so that is what we were very proud about, and we're going to continue to push forward.
Ladies, I would like to say thank you very much. It's really great that you dared to ask these questions. I don't know what has happened to the guys. Probably they are still sleeping. Which of those 4 ladies had the best question?
I don't know. It's really hard.
Or do you want to have them all 4 in the corner?
Yeah, maybe.
So ladies, please join Brian Wong in the corner and you will get a book if he has enough. Brian Wong, thank you very much.
Thank you.